Friday night, the Bodega. Let's go. You already know it's your boy, the BK Apologist, transmitting all the way live. New York is the city, Brooklyn is the borough. What's good? What's popping? So it's Friday night. We're back at the Bodega once again. First and foremost, let me say a quick shout out to the party people in the chat. We got Phil Fox. We got Tyler Lott. We got Isaiah Braxton in the building. We got the new Bodega lady in the house. We got Shawnee Miller, another Bodega lady in the house. And Bodega ladies, I did put the link in your chat. So feel free to jump in because StreamYard now allows me to have 10 people on the panel. That's me plus 9 others. So we could do this co-ed style if you want. All right. So yeah, we got Black Atheists in the house. We got my man QCBTBX in the building. Of course, we got self-proclaimed God's gift. Nate2D2, you know what I mean? So, ladies, you know, if you want to come through, please. Up and look who showed up. It's the intercontinental birthday boy.
Yeah,
Chris Featherstone. What's going on?
What's up, man? Look, this is how devoted I am to the Bodega.
Oh, here we go.
No, look, man. Listen, I am in the middle of my birthday party right now, actually, and I stepped away from our birthday party. There's like a bunch of people out.
Really?
I'm in my studio. I stepped away from our birthday party to come chat with y'all for about 20 minutes.
Oh, you're too kind, sir.
I do hear a little something going on in the background.
Yes, there's fireworks, and I hear ambulances.
Wow, it's that kind of party.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh no. I was no, but look, here's the funny part. I was DJing my own. I DJ, as y'all know. So I was DJing, and we was having a good time, and it was loud in my garage. And a good couple friend of ours, it was like, hey, she kind of tried to prank us a little bit, but she didn't. She's like, yeah, they called the police, and like, no. But we're friends with our neighbors. That is not a good prank
in today's climate. That's a horrible prank, my friend. Don't do it.
We're friends with our neighbors, so they would knock on the door first before they would call the police. So praise God for a good relationship with the neighbors. What's that?
This the new neighborhood?
Yes. We're in the country now. So
y'all made friends. Look at y'all, man. Y'all
back. Yeah, man. Yeah, we made it come up.
But actually, you know what? I haven't even introduced the rest of you guys, so I'm gonna let my man MJ Jackson do his official greeting to y'all.
Greetings. I've been MIA because I went back to work and I work second shift. But you know, it's the 4th of July weekend, so thank God for a few good holidays. And I'm just happy to be kicking it with you guys. I missed y'all.
Yeah, MJ's been super busy. He be having nothing but scholars on his channel the last few days, man. Who you had this week, man?
I think last week was Dr. Jonathan Pritchett, one of my professors at Trinity.
That's my guy. That's my guy.
And this week we had Dr. John Oswald, and like I said, I've been pushing his book. I know me and you, Alfredo, we still gonna do a deep dive in it as well. But I've been pushing his book where he explores the Bible versus myth, and that book is pretty much gives you a crash course in the worldview of myth. So we had him on today for about 55 minutes, and I felt like it was pretty good. I've been hearing some good things about it, and I hope that it blessed somebody out there.
No doubt. And they were very fiery, man. Like Oswald was preaching at times. You know what I mean?
Yes, he was getting it in.
He was getting it in. Then of course we got Dr. Detroit, aka Apologist in Detroit. What's good, sir?
I feel like you're gonna have to stop calling me doctor, because now that Chris is actually a doctor, I feel like that takes away from all of his hard work. Maybe call me.
You know what?
You're a different kind of doctor, though.
You know what, Chris? You're all right with me,
imaginary
man. You all right with me, man. Despite being from Detroit, Michigan, you all right with me, Doc?
Wow.
You know what?
Pow. Pew,
I should be
pew.
all right for all them victories we gave Ohio State University. I should be
Yeah,
all
over the past 20 years.
right. Past 1 year.
Wow.
I got you for that.
Guys are terrible. So as always, we do a quick check-in on the Rona. So we're gonna start with Mr. Featherstone. What's been going on in your neck of the woods?
It's like I say every week, man. Just immature people being immature, bro. It's just here's the thing: people are over it, which I totally understand because I'm over it too. But at the same time, man, like, look, wash your hands. If you got a little something in your throat, wear a mask or don't even leave your house. Period. You know what I mean? Like, be responsible. It's just a lack of adult. If it's adults being irresponsible, man, that's what it really boils down to. Like, and that's what we see. I mean, DeWine is doing a mandatory mask. No, actually, Mayor Gunther, Ginther, the mayor's doing a mandatory mask with a couple exceptions, but as of tomorrow, it's going to be. He's laying the gavel again to kind of reduce those numbers.
Wow. And what's going on with Detroit?
Well, if you like pina coladas or going out in the rain,
That's not gonna happen anymore over
if
there,
you're
right?
not into yoga or have half a brain, our governor shut down the bars, the inside of bars. The outside of bars, you can serve customers outside. You just can't serve them inside anymore. And she even had an executive order that bars can sell drinks to go, up to 2 drinks to go.
Oh, that's been the case in New York since
Making that
since
money.
they opened up. Yeah,
No,
that's been
well,
the
they
case.
are like usually you can't sell, like if you can go to a restaurant and you can't get a drink to go with your to go order at a restaurant. So
Oh,
yeah,
you could definitely do that in New York right now. Yeah, you can drive by, snatch up a quick, rum and coke, and be out.
I
Yeah,
just
you can
find
do
that crazy because they
in a
like
styrofoam cup.
you haven't opened it because it's illegal to have alcohol in an open container in your car here in Michigan. So like it's just weird. Anyway, but yeah, other than that, like we had a tiny bit of a spike, so they closed the inside of bars. There were a couple bars, one in Lansing, Michigan, where Michigan State is at, and then one in like Royal Oak, which is like party central. It's like a city known for partying that's not associated with a college campus. So yeah, we had a couple breakouts where a couple hundred people caught it, and so we're trying to calm
Wow.
those fires out. But yeah, other than that, it's been pretty decent.
Mandatory mask starts in Columbus, Ohio today. Thank you, sweet.
Oh yeah, it is today because I looked at it yesterday and they said it was tomorrow. So yeah, it is today. Yeah, another
I
Columbus,
mean, it's a
Ohio
whole
right
new world, right? Because now it's like in my timeline, you got all these companies now, rocking these different masks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So now you get color coordinate, you get African print, you get all, I sell masks in my little, store, tpublic.com, BK Hodges, you know what I mean? So yeah, cheap club.
One of the admins dropping.
Yeah, please.
Yes.
If one of the admins could put the link to my clothing T-shirt thing, that'd be greatly appreciated. Because I also sell masks, and for every mask you buy, they donate a surgical mask. So it's for a good cause. You know what I mean? Also, Bodega ladies, I see you guys in the chat. It'd be really great to see one of y'all in this panel right now. StreamYard has expanded the panel. I can have up to 9 people now. So, ladies, if possible, it'd be really great. Thank you, Nate2D2. Quick on the draw when it comes to them links.
Yes.
So I would love for one of the Bodega ladies to come up and represent, if possible. No pressure, but it would be kind of nice. So, now, Apologists in Detroit. You quoted a very interesting song, right? If you like pina coladas. The song's based on a troubled marriage, right? And speaking of troubled marriages, if I could just share my screen. I mean, you gave me the ultimate alley-oop with that one, bro. So, yes. So, Dr. Dre's wife, Nicole Young, is pictured for the first time since divorce as she leaves the attorney's office after it's revealed they will split nearly $60 million in real estate. Nicole, 50, filed for divorce from Dr. Dre on Monday after 24 years of marriage. She spent 3 hours with lawyers on Thursday and was seen leaving an attorney's office in Los Angeles. The former couple will be negotiating how to split their assets, as it's reported that there was no prenuptial agreement when they married. Dr. Dre is worth a reported $800 million thanks to his music empire. There is nearly $60 million of real estate on the table, including their $50 million Brentwood estate. Dr. Dre, born Andre Romel Young, and Nicole were married May 25th, 1996, and shared 2 kids, daughter Truly, 19, and son Truis, 23. So, what are your initial thoughts?
The translation of all of that you said is this: coming soon. Beats by Nicole.
It's more like Nicole just beat up Dr. Dre.
Beat by Nicole. Yeah, man. No.
So here's my question. As believers, right? Those of us who are single, you know, if your soon-to-be spouse, right, after church service one day says, "Hey, right before we get married, I want you to sign this prenup," what would you do?
Sis, that means that we're not going to get married.
Yeah. Man.
Yeah. No.
I mean, is it a sin issue if someone brings up a prenup?
No, I wouldn't call it a sin issue. I would call it a trust issue. I mean, like, listen, if it's to death do us part in sickness and in health, we made vows. It's oxymoronic because I'm signing a prenup and then we're making vows for to death do us part in sickness and in health. Like, which one are we going to do it? Make up your mind. So that just doesn't make sense at all to me for the whole prenup. Listen, if we're gonna go, we're gonna get in this thing muddy and ugly. I mean, like that's what we're gonna do as a Christian. I mean, from a worldly standpoint, I mean, prenups galore. But from a Christian standpoint, I definitely think it's we need to be true to our vows, because the Bible says, you know, it's better to not make a vow at all than to make a vow and not pay it. So from a scriptural standpoint, it's prenups aren't allowed.
Tell her the only way out is in a body bag, and agree that we will fight to the death if we can't work it out.
That's right.
Wow.
That's right, man. Yeah.
I agree with Chris, man. I think that I don't see any moral grounding for a prenup. To me, that's just that means you didn't pick a good person.
Right.
You made a poor choice, and you probably shouldn't get married if you're worried about somebody prenup ahead of time. That being said, I personally think this is another display of how immoral our justice system is, because God forbid you have to get a divorce. I just think that it's immoral that one person earned income and the other person is just taking it just because they were along for the ride. I find that as incredibly immoral. I think that you can adjudicate a matter like that in a way where it's fair to this person who, in this case, is making the choice to leave, but at the same time, it's fair to the person who would put it. And I would feel the same way if it was her. If she's the person that's got the millions of dollars and he was along for the ride, you know, I feel the same way. But I just think that this is just another poor example of how our justice system continues to fail us.
True Berean makes a very interesting point. He says, I think a prenup is good if it benefits both sides. I think suzerainty covenants mirror this. I don't know, because you have the suzerain lord and you have the vassal state. Mm-hmm. So you're actually acknowledging that there is a vast inequality between both parties.
Yes.
And I don't know any woman that would agree to be the vassal state. I just don't see that happening.
There's more about what you do, what you're going to do for the lesser in that scenario as well. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like a promissory for you as the greater for what you're going to do for the lesser. So I don't think.
But he cleaned it up though. I work that being said, a vassal king treaty is inappropriate. Okay.
Clean that up real quick.
He cleaned it up real quick. Good. Very good.
It's a good snapback, Mr. Berean there.
Yes.
I'm curious to see what in the world they're divorcing for. I mean, like, if you are married for someone for 24 years, man,
My
sheesh.
bad, Berean. I didn't know you cleared it up. My bad. My bad.
Yeah, you good. You clean it up, Brian. That's good, man. Yeah, I mean, I would like. I mean, I saw this earlier this week, and I'm interested to see just the specifics of it. Like, what is it that they? I mean, because personally, I've been married. It'll be 10 years this year, and there was some really tough times in my marriage, and it's just, and I have such a a passion to really be used by God to help save marriages, because a lot of times people just there's just hurt, and statistically, like, empty nesting and things like that too. You just don't even know the person. Communication is real bad. Statistically, like, empty nesters, they divorce at an alarming rate because their nucleus were the kids, and so when the kids leave, they're like, "Oh, okay, what's your name again?" Like,
Right.
well, why did we even fall in love? I don't even know. And I think that's I think just the marriage model should be really respected when it comes to husband and wife and the role of children. Not bring the nucleus of the children as your marriage, because I don't know exactly what made them divorce, but at the same time, it's like, man, what is it so irreconcilable that 24 years isn't enough to figure this thing out? Like, it just was it's really weird to me.
And one of the Bodega ladies just rolled up. We got Miss Titus 2 in the building. What's going on, sis?
What's up, guys? Can y'all hear me okay?
Very
Indeed.
clear. Very clear.
Awesome.
So, Titus, right? So, this incredibly righteous, spiritual man of God who looks just like Carmelo Anthony. Guys, saw what you said about Carmelo. Right? This amazing, righteous, good-looking Carmelo Anthony clone. Loves the Lord. I mean, he's a deacon in the church. I mean, he got the glow. He got the glow, right? Comes to you. He's been courting you. He's seeking advice. He's doing everything right. I mean, he's checking off all the boxes, right? Gives you gets on bended knee, gives you the ring. The type of ring you like, because he actually talked to the sisters first to make sure he got the right
Talk to the
style.
Bodega ladies first.
You know what I mean? Using wisdom. He does all of that. But he
Okay.
says, but before we walk down the aisle, I have some paperwork I would like to give you. What say you?
You talking about a prenup?
Yes.
Absolutely not.
After all that? After all that.
Absolutely not. I say that
Okay.
now because I don't have nobody like with all the boxes checked. Give me a ring and some paper. So maybe if I was in a situation, I might feel different. But me, how I'm thinking now, no. You don't trust me? Like, why are you trying to marry me if you don't even trust me? Because to me, that's what a prenup says.
Okay.
You sound like you've been reading Proverbs.
Come
I
on.
mean,
Come on, somebody.
but I've heard people argue that more Christians are getting into that, and some people are okay with it. I'm not okay with it.
Would you consider it a sin issue?
I don't think it's necessarily a sin issue, but I don't think it really sets a good expectation for what the marriage is going to be.
Right.
I
But what if
don't.
he says that, you're guaranteed to come off with at least 30 mil? Off rip.
Who?
But 30 mil.
Oh, now wait. Now she's changing. Now, look at this.
But wait a minute. 30
Before she's like,
million-
no. 'Cause,
I'm sorry. I just had to think how much $30 million is. Do y'all know what that looks like?
No, I don't.
So that changes your perspective on the prenup?
That still doesn't make it any better. That doesn't make it any better because
Sure? Because you kind of...
I would want my marriage to last, okay? Like divorce, from what I hear, divorce sucks. And I would prefer to keep my husband over $30 million. You can't
Come
replace
on.
people. You can't put a price tag on people.
Shadi, come on now.
All right, so because of Shani, so let's raise up the ante. We talking a straight 100 mil off rip without even having to talk to lawyers. You automatically, the minute divorce is said, you get 100 million.
And Titus,
Now what?
Titus,
Now what?
give us the real answer Don't give us what we need to hear. Tell us, is this
100 mil off rip. No lawyers. It just automatically just gets put in your bank account the minute the word divorce is mentioned. Like, bing, ATM, boom, 100 million. And he paid for the taxes. So it's tax-free, 100 million.
Oh gosh, I need another bodega lady on here. Michelle, where you at?
She's calling for backup. She's calling for backup.
Use my lifeline.
Michelle said she's gonna have the prenup. She said she's taking the prenup.
Yeah, she wants the prenup. But I don't know.
Hey, look at Chris faltering too now.
No. What I'm saying is this: why are we even talking about divorce before we get married, though?
Yeah.
Why Michelle must be rich if she wants to.
Well, she said she has an inheritance. She did say it in the chat. She has an inheritance. So hey,
all right, look at Michelle.
Yeah.
Listen, I think divorce is worth being ugly and staying ugly. Like if we're going to divorce, this thing needs to be ugly because like we put our trust and vow with each other. So if we're going to divorce, this whole thing needs to be like what it should be, which is ugly.
Well, God hates divorce, right? So
that's right. They want to be singing Usher, like
right.
Wow.
My goodness, what did I walk into?
Welcome to the Octagon. So what I want to do now too is here at the bodega, we like to be fair and balanced, right? If you say something crazy, we're gonna check you. But if you do the right thing, we're gonna applaud that. And why am I saying that? Well, there's been an individual that me and Adam have had the pleasure of having to, fact check a couple of times. And that would be Miss Candace Owens. But Miss Candace Owens decided to check someone else. It says here, I'm waiting for literally any Republican or conservative to try to defend Caleb J. Hall tweets. Now, what is that about, right? Well, Candace is calling out a prominent conservative, Caleb J. Hall, for using the N-word multiple times. It's not clear why Candace is putting him on blast, given that she associates with many conservatives with suspected racist histories. Caleb is a Republican operative in the Washington, D.C. area, known for his pro-Trump rhetoric on social media, as well as his relentless targeting of Trump critics online. He has more than 138,000 Twitter followers, which he uses to harass liberals or critics of President Trump. So kudos to Miss Owens calling people out for their racism. That's a good thing. Or it's not.
No.
I need to know.
That's not a good thing that she's calling out racism.
Well, here's the thing. There's an underlying presupposition that racism is only if you use the N-word.
Ah.
And even when you're dealing with some of these killings and things like that, you have folks who will debate you till the cows come home on if there was racist intent, even if you got all the statistical data showing the trends, and you can make a reasonable inference to the best explanation that more black people are getting killed and more black people are being brutalized, more black people are being talked crazy to by police. But yet, unless the N-word is involved, you can't say that racism may be in the works. So I reject the presupposition.
Oh, somebody froze.
Yeah, I'll pick up until he gets back. I agree with MJ. I think that I grew up in the 90s. We used the N-word all the time, but we used it as a term of endearment. We used it as a just a slangish way of interacting with our actual friends. So at no point or time were we using that word in a derogatory, dehumanizing way. So I think that that's a case where the intent is completely different. And then I think also, like if I'm lecturing and I'm describing history and I use the word within its descriptive context, I don't think that we should censor people because of their race. You know, if a person wants to, if a person has to describe something and that word is a part of the description, they should have the liberty to be able to do that in order to effectively communicate. So I think part of it, the problem is that, and again, I don't know. I would love to see the context in which he used the word to determine whether or
Oh,
not.
it was bad. Like it was tons of tweets. Now to his, he's apologized and he said this happened when he was a teen, right? So this is a younger, and he had all these caveats. You know, my parents got divorced. I was in a bad place. I was running with a bad crowd. You know, so it is what it is.
How was it? So he was describing. Was he describing history and quoting himself, or was
Yes.
he using the word? And okay, well, to me, I don't understand.
Well,
why.
no. They found old tweets of his where he's just calling black people the N word left and right. Like he's not using it as a contextual way. Like you know, back in slavery, blacks were called. Like he wasn't doing it like that. He was straight up saying, "You are a."
Okay, got you. But it was still in the past, though, right?
Yes.
Okay, but so if he was simply referencing the past, I mean, again, this you know.
Well, he wasn't referencing. They were referencing the past.
They
They,
were referencing
brought up
his-
old tweets
yeah.
of his. Right.
Yeah. I still.
What's your
think
take
that-
on this, Ms. Titus?
I really don't have much to say because I don't know who Caleb J. Hole is. So I need to do some research on that. But as far as Candace saying something, I just find it ironic because it just seems like she doesn't really, I don't know the words I'm trying to say, but it just sounds like she's always saying that racism is like something that we've made up in our minds. And I know she doesn't really believe that, but it don't seem like she ever really be on our side when it comes. And I hate to say stuff like our side, but y'all know what I mean. Like she don't really stand up for black folks.
So you think
when
there
it
might be
comes to-
a nefarious agenda behind it? Like maybe she just don't like this dude, and this is a way of her just attacking him by using racism.
Possibly.
Could be that. It could be that.
I
All
think
right.
I think that she like making money, and you make money with clicks. So anytime she can get out in the public and say something or do something that draws attention, you know, that puts dollars in her pocket. So I'm convinced of that of Candace. I don't think that she's a genuine person at all. So
Okay.
Agreed.
Next topic on the agenda: report. Bible Belt Christians are dying in frightening numbers after ignoring COVID-19 social distancing guidelines. All right. Okay. Many Christian fundamentalists and evangelicals have been irresponsibly downplaying the dangers of COVID-19 and doing so with deadly results. Evangelical fundamentalists who defied social distancing guidelines are dying of coronavirus in frightening numbers. According to a recent report from the UK-based Independent, the current coronavirus pandemic has claimed the lives of more than 30 pastors in the Bible Belt and many more parishioners after church leaders actively encouraged churchgoers to flout self-distancing guidelines. Writing for the Independent, Alex Woodward notes, dozens of pastors across the Bible Belt have succumbed to the coronavirus after churches and televangelists played down the pandemic and actively encouraged churchgoers to flout self-distancing guidelines. As many as 30 church leaders from the nation's largest African-American Pentecostal denomination have now been confirmed to have died in the outbreak, as members defied public health warnings to avoid large gatherings to prevent transmitting the virus. Woodward goes on to note that conservative African-American churches have been particularly hard hit by the pandemic. The virus has had a wildly disproportionate impact among black congregations, many of which have relied on group worship. Woodward goes on to note that despite the rising death tolls, church leaders have not been discouraged and continue to endanger their flock. So, what say you guys?
People need to stay home. Stay home. I heard of a church in North Carolina. Actually, Shawnee sent this to me. And there was a video that a lot of people are getting flack for this now because they were in worship. Like only one person had on a mask, and it was like 100 people in a small church, and everybody dancing and shouting, just spreading all their little coronavirus bubbles all over the place. And people got sick, and they knew that people in the church had already tested positive for coronavirus. I think that's absolutely crazy. And one person said, well, I came because my pastor said I had to come. Like, bro, if your pastor got that much control over you, something is wrong with you and the pastor. Stay home. Stay home. And hey, D New. Hey, girl. Okay, that's all I got to say.
Yes, welcome D New to the Bodega. What's going on, sis?
Hey.
Hey. So let's go right to you, to another Bodega lady. So what's your thoughts on what we just read?
Well, I think that I can kind of give a medical kind of perspective to it because of what I do day in and day out. I think that it is quite irresponsible, knowing what we know, knowing about transmission, to not heed or take heed to guidelines. You know, it's okay if you're young and healthy and can weather the storm, if you will, but there's people who aren't able to do it as well as other people are. And so to make a blanket statement that covers a congregation of people is irresponsible, perhaps.
Cool. And look who just rolled up to the Bodega. We got Mr. Phil Fox in the building. What's going on, sir?
Not much. How are you? I was sorry I'm late.
No, I threw out the bat signal, and I figured, if you're able to,
Yeah, no, I was actually playing Roblox with my youngest daughter, so
oh wow.
had to, we're getting busy.
So I don't know if you saw what we just talked about, that, a lot of pastors and parishioners, mostly from conservative African American churches, have been dying from the coronavirus because they're not they're bucking the suggestions of social distancing and wearing masks. So what's your take on that?
Well, I mean, yeah, I get that there is a, we have these liberties and all these things, but I mean, there's a degree of responsibility that we need to take as well. Like, sure, absolutely. I've seen a lot of folks in the rural communities because I come from a rural part of North Dakota is where my roots come from. So I see a lot of some of the conservative pastors from like Montana and in some of the smaller towns in North Dakota, and they, I mean, they're having just full on service. Some of them didn't even stop through the pandemic, and I get you're exercising a freedom that you might have, but I mean, there is some responsibility that you have to take as well, and precautions, and loving thy neighbor is also protecting thy neighbor as well.
Right.
So just because we have these, these quote liberties doesn't mean we have to exercise them. I mean, it's almost a hypersensitivity to, thinking like, oh, the government is trying to control us and all this, this type of rhetoric. And some of it is staged in fear mongering, it's unfortunately. So, but yeah, so anyway, that's where I'm at. We just got to balance, anything in life, it just needs to be balance. You have to come with the balanced approach. Otherwise you tend to fall one way or the other.
Apologist in Detroit. This person says, is it wrong to trust the Lord will protect you?
I think that his question is a false dichotomy or a false dilemma. That's what it is. I don't think I don't think that you're not trusting the Lord by using wisdom. Right. The Bible has an entire block of scripture known as wisdom literature. Proverbs, Song of Solomon, Ecclesiastes, Psalms. And this block of literature is not simply there for it's not simply there for us just to read. It's simply there for us to inform us on how to live in a godly way. And wisdom is a godly principle in which we should all display, particularly Christian leaders. So yeah, that's one thing. False dilemma. You're trusting in God is using wisdom. Biblically speaking. That's one thing. Two, this is just a speculation. I wonder how much of them making the decision to continue to meet was brought on by the financial aspect of it. You know, I know a lot of churches in the suburbs are well funded and don't necessarily they're not going to go out of business because they don't meet. Whereas a lot of churches in the city, you know, its members are poor people, or in these black churches often its members are poor people, or people who statistically speaking on average make less money, which give less money, and often those people toward the bottom of that socioeconomic run often get impacted by through their jobs and things like that. So yeah, I wonder how much of it was practical and not just them doing something that they wanted to do, but because they felt like if I don't do this, my church might go out of business. I mean,
it reminds me of a joke, right? There was a flood that was going on, and it got to this man's house, like the first floor, and a boat came. It's like, listen, we're here to rescue you. And the guy said, oh, I have faith in the Lord. Don't worry about it. It's like, okay, fine. The flood gets up to the third floor. The boat comes again. It's like, listen, hop on the boat before it's too late. No, I hope on the Lord. Now he's on his roof, and the water's up to his chest. Helicopter comes by. It's like they drop down a ladder, and they say, hey, get on the ladder so we can rescue you. He's like, no, my hope is in the Lord. So now he's in heaven because he died, and he's beefing with God. It's like, God, why didn't you save me? I had my faith in you. It's like, dude, I sent 2 boats and a helicopter.
Mm-hmm.
What, you know what I mean? So anyway, yeah, it's an old joke. It's an old Christian. Anyway, get it, MJ.
Well, you know, I often tell people that God gives us a brain to protect our heart. And a lot of times people in their heart of hearts, yeah, they're very sincere and they trust the Lord and they want to operate on faith. But you got to use you got to use critical thinking. And furthermore, I can see everything in the scripture pointing to loving your neighbor and practicing social distancing and doing things like that. That may conflict with your American sensibilities. Like the government can't tell me what to do. My liberty is my freedom. Don't tread on me. Things like that. But what does the Bible say? If cover your, I done seen so many videos of people fighting because of folks not covering their mouth when they cough. All hell is breaking loose because people are letting those droplets hit another person. Mm-hmm. So for the sake of peace, for the sake of loving your neighbor, let's just do the right thing and use our head. And it's not control. You know, we all went to school and we had to sit up under a teacher and learn from a math teacher, or learn from a history teacher, or learn from such and such teacher. So, you know, when a medical expert gets on there and gives their expertise, it's not manipulation or control. We really got to stop. We really got to stop that, because it's making us look bad as Americans. Everybody in the rest of the world is getting this virus up under control, and we're supposed to have that good old American exceptionalism, but yet we can't do the right thing when it comes to this virus. I mean, it's a head scratcher for sure.
Right. I know True Brian is joking, but I want to use this to bring up another interesting point. Right, but he's in heaven. The guy in the story, right? He believed in the Lord, and he's in heaven, right? And that's the goal, right? But not everybody is a believer yet, right? So just for that alone, we should practice social distancing and wear masks, because we don't want to, infect people who are not going to heaven, right? Now we want to help them get to heaven, right? That's the goal of every believer. But we don't want to cut their life short before they have a chance to hear the gospel. So I just thought that'd be another interesting thing to think about as well for believers, because we might be good, but they're not, so.
Well, okay, so Minister Mallory said, something about whether or not that's like a lack of faith. Well, okay, so I heard about this guy who was on the show Sunday's Best, and somehow he contracted HIV.
Mm.
He then married a woman. They are both healthy. They have a beautiful family. Everybody in the family is healthy. Now, his wife, I'm sure, is taking some precautions so that she doesn't also contract HIV. I don't think that shows a lack of faith. I think that's immense wisdom. Like, if there's a way to protect yourself from catching a disease that is killing people, like, why wouldn't you do that?
If you know to do right and don't do right, the Bible is Brother James is very clear about that.
I want to say something else, but I'm not going to say it.
If you don't know, or if you reject wisdom, the Bible also has something to say about that too. It says the rod of correction is for the back of fools.
Yeah, wisdom mocks you. Wisdom follows you around in the streets and mocks you and calls you a fool.
Man,
absolutely. So, man, that was good. But
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if there's 20 people in your church and you got a big sanctuary and y'all can social distance and wear masks, then okay, then you're fine. But you can't just go filling up the potter's house with no precaution and think everything is going to be fine in the middle of a pandemic. That's crazy.
But is healing done away with, though? Is that what we're saying here?
No, absolutely not. Why put yourself in that position?
Yeah, and thou shalt not tempt the Lord your God. I mean,
right.
There you go.
I mean, it just comes down to that. I mean, why are we going out? And I mean, it's sort of like the folks that, I can't remember who it was, but was it a lady or a dude or somebody anyway, jumped into the lion's pit and God's going to protect me and all this kind of stuff a couple of years ago. But I mean, that's the thing, is just like MJ said, I mean, God gave us a brain for a reason, and if we're not using it to try and protect, then you are the dumbest person. I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, it doesn't take a brain surgeon. It doesn't take a Einstein, a mathematician, a rocket scientist to understand, like, hey, you got to wash your hands, distance yourself. All the stuff is out there. It's been in our face for how long now? And now all of a sudden, we're like, hey, I'm just going to trust in the Lord to save me or keep me from getting sick. I mean, that's just, might as well throw smallpox on yourself and just breathe it in. And then, you know what I'm saying? So it's crazy. I mean, let's just use our noodles.
Don't wear a seatbelt.
I think also we have a very narrow view of healing as well, because when you come into Christ, right? I did this earlier this week talking about the side effects of salvation, right? One of the side effects is that you now have the mind of Christ, right? You can think right now, right? So now that you see what's going on and you take the proper precautions, you're able to do that because you're using the mind that God gave you. And for a lot of us, we weren't using our minds until we found Christ. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the fact that we found Christ and we're now thinking correctly, that's healing. We've been healed to actually wear the mask and to social distance. Like, we understand that. So that's part of healing as well. So I think for a lot of us, when we think of healing, we think laying on hands and now someone can see, or they couldn't walk and now they're sprinting. Healing is far more than just those obvious things. Yeah. So
I think that just in response to that last comment, I mean, I know that we're talking about COVID, but if we extend it to other medical conditions, like, for example, lung cancer, right? We would never say that someone who has smoked for 30 years is exempt from contracting the diseases that result from smoking for 30 years. And we wouldn't say, well, doesn't God heal? Yeah, God heals, but you tore up your lungs. Your bronchioles are done. You have soot in your lungs. So again, that just points to the whole wisdom aspect. We have ways to avoid, in this example, we're talking about medical conditions. We have ways that are effective in avoiding contracting certain disease processes and sicknesses, and to not go the route of those ways is just not wisdom, or else pay the consequences, if you will.
Right. And someone spoke about wisdom. Wisdom is the experience of applying knowledge. Right? So if you now have the mind of Christ, who has more experience in applying knowledge than the creator? Right? If you're a believer, you get to tap into all of that wisdom.
Amen.
So when we are taking precautions, we're using the very thing that God has given us. It's actually an act of worship in a sense, because we're activating the very thing that God wants us to use.
That's good. Yeah, that's good.
You know? So
Amen. I think that I like to point out that often we have jaded views of scripture. Like, for instance, take the book of Acts. Acts covers roughly 30 years of time, but you can read through it in like an hour, right?
right.
Reading straight through it. In the book of Acts, how many miracles are recorded? You really only get about 15 to 20 miracles. There might be more that are implied, but to think about that, 15 or 20 miracles over a scope of 30 years, that's not even one a year. You know what I'm saying? You know, but it feels like miracles are happening all over the place.
Right,
You know
true.
Or broaden it to the whole scope of scripture. I mean, from Old Testament to New Testament, you got roughly 150 miracles recorded, and that's about 5,000 years of known time that's recorded. You got about 150 miracles recorded. So I think that part of it is it feels like sometimes we read scriptures and it just feels like miracles are happening all over the place, when the reality is like, well, miracles by very definition is rare. Healing is a miracle. It falls under that umbrella of miracle.
Right.
Yeah, and it's rare. So we should.
And also, a lot of times when we do see miracles done, it's to authenticate the word that comes right after that.
Amen.
Right? Which is really the miracle, right? The gospel. There's like, I did this amazing pyrotechnic thing to get your attention because what I'm about to say, that's the miracle. Right?
Amen.
So,
but
yeah, miracles still happen. Miracles definitely still happen.
Absolutely.
You know, if me and Mr. Phil Fox somehow ended up in Zimbabwe and we had to preach the gospel and we don't know the village dialect, there's no reason why God can't give us the ability to speak in that language. That can happen. You know, I'm not going to put God in the box. I'm definitely not going to do that. So next up on the hit parade is, you're going to like this one. Yeah. South Africa gets its first Satanic church, which includes baptism and weddings. In South Africa, part of our constitution allows people to have the right to practice their chosen religions. For many years, Satanists did not have a place of worship until two people, Ryan Sigwilar and Dre Norton, decided to do something about it. Working together, Norton and Swiglar co-founded the South African Satanic Church, the country's first place of worship for Satanists. Many people have had their doubts about Satanism and the alleged rituals that take place during meetings. However, Swiglar, what a name, Swiglar wanted to put people's minds at ease by revealing none of their rituals are illegal and they do them for self-empowerment. Swiglar said that they did not sacrifice humans or animals, there were no initiation ceremonies, and they are not after people's children. Although the church is named South African Satanic Church, they do not worship a devil or even acknowledge a devil. Swigler told E! News, the church sees Satan as an archetype. In fact, according to Norton, there is a difference between Satanism and devil worship. She said, quote, we see Satanism as an archetype, a force. It is not something that needs worshiping. According to IOL, Norton said the church is not a get-rich organization. They are also not part of the Illuminati, but rather functions as a religious organization. So, first Satanic church in South Africa. What's up?
So
What's up?
I don't understand. So is Satan not the devil?
Well, according to them, there's a difference, right?
What is the difference?
Well, according to them, they're saying that Satan is an archetype. He's a force.
But that's well, I don't know if he's a force. The fact that it's an archetype, the Satan, the concept of the Satan in ancient Hebrew, I'm like, well, at least they got a little nuance to it.
True, because Satan just means adversary, right?
It's
So anybody
adversary.
could be a Satan, right?
It is kind of an archetypical position of sorts. You know, it's not like there's this like we have kind of shaved it down to the devil. You know, that's kind of more of a modern concept, but historically speaking, Satan is a.
But let's pull on that thread, right? So we know in the Hebrew that Satan means adversary.
Yeah.
This is the church of the adversary. So you're teaching adversarial.
See, that's my thing. They're
theology?
talking about
Like, what does that mean?
We're not doing any sacrifices or doing anything crazy. But how do I know you're telling me the truth? Like, what is your where are you getting your
Right.
your morality from? Because if it's from Satan, then you could be deceiving me, and you wouldn't have a problem with that. So, for all I know, you are sacrificing children and babies.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say that the force, right?
Right.
So when he says force, I'm thinking Star Wars.
Yeah.
Well, the
course you
force
are.
is pantheism, right? I mean, Obi-Wan Kenobi, when he explains the force to Skywalker, it's literally pantheism. He explains it as pantheism. You know, it's through us. It's in the table. It's like what Jabari said in the debate. It's in this chair. It's in this thing.
Table, under the table.
The table, under the table. Right.
I see BK's metachlorian levels are high.
So it's like, another question is, well, what do you do? Because all organizations have some sort of ritual.
Mm-hmm.
So you say there's no rituals, really?
My question is, they told us everything they don't do and nothing.
Nothing they do.
Facts.
Yeah, and it's full of contradictions. I mean, it's just back and forth. The whole thing doesn't make sense. So yeah, I mean, it goes right back to the question: is what do you do?
Sketchy.
And they checked off all the
What y'all
boxes.
doing up in there?
Right.
Yeah.
We don't kill no one. We don't kill animals. We're not part of Illuminati. We're not. I'm like, then what do you do? You do something. You play spades? Like, what's up? Like, what's up?
That's crazy.
But the fact that they
words I
said
don't
that
know.
there was a need, right? The article says, these poor Satanists, they're just out here, without a place to call their own. And then these two brave souls, these pioneers, decided to really, do something about it and meet the needs of the people. Because what Africa needs more than anything is Satan. That's what we're missing here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just feel bad for them. I feel like they're going to be persecuted by the Pastafarians because they're backwards.
I mean, people are playing with things that they're just not aware of, man. It's like, you're gonna pray to the Nakash? You're gonna pray to that renegade cherubim angel? That's what we're gonna do? He's gonna expect something in return, right? Henceforth ritual, right? Which they don't do, of course.
Yeah.
They don't do that.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't do anything that Satanists traditionally do.
Right. But it's called the Church of Satan.
Right. We're the Church of Satan.
Right.
Maybe they have a mime team.
A satanic mime team. Oh Lord. And they're playing Savage by Homegirl, right? That's
Oh, jeez. Yeah,
Lester Murphy already beat him to it.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Usually on Sundays.
Satanic Sundays, yes. I saw this meme the other day. No mask, no surface. No mark, no cell. Do you see where this is going? They are conditioning the people to accept the mark of the beast. People make these things, guys. And they post them. What's up with that? Like, is this a coherent correlation between what's happening now and Revelations 13?
That's crazy. That's been going on for ages. No shoes, no shirt, no service.
Mm.
I mean,
Yeah.
come on now.
That's a
We've
good
been that
point.
for
Great
ages.
point. Great point.
I was thinking about that earlier. Like you can't go outside naked. The mask is just another piece of clothes. Think of it like that.
Yeah.
Like, come on. There is a certain group that loves to fearmonger.
Mhm.
And you know, both sides does it. Both sides do it. But it's horrible.
Mhm.
You guys ever seen that video of this woman that she takes the Monster energy drink
Yes.
Yeah.
and she flips it and it's like it's the claws of Satan and it's the 666 and like she found all these things in a can of energy drink. I'm like, wow. I wonder if you're that in depth in your Bible study.
One
Right.
one of my favorite things is when these people like they go and use numerology and they look at Isaiah 6 and plug it into over here. Meanwhile, that's only a few hundred years old. The numbers, I mean, the original text did not have numbers. Like, come on, people, let's do a little bit of research. You know what I mean?
But bro, that's been going on for centuries. Gematria, right? Gematria does the same thing. We're gonna take these numbers, and if Yahweh has this number configuration, and if this person has the same number, well, therefore they're somehow connected to Yahweh. And but like they've been doing that since the Middle Ages. So that's nothing new.
And we heard it today during MJ's live stream, and it's the idea that if you're going to compare two subjects, two objects, two things, you don't look at their similarities, you look at the difference. Because if we look at similarities, D. New is apologist in Detroit because they're both Black. D. New is apologist in Detroit because they both have two legs. But we're not the same. D. New is an X, and apologist in Detroit is an XY. And so it's just this false logic to look at similarities in order to call different things the same. You're going to get it wrong every single time.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're saying is correlation is not causation.
That is exactly what I'm saying.
I see what you're cooking there. I see. But let's get real nerdy with it though. What is the mark of the beast to my biblical scholars? What do you think it is?
Nero.
Okay.
People keep saying it's the chip.
The chip. Oh, the microchip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Certain organizations like to propagate that.
Yeah, chubby boys were talking about potato chips. We're thinking.
Honestly, I was thinking potato chips. And then I'm like, no, microchips.
Yeah. On point.
Take a minute or two and explain.
Thank you, Jesus King. Appreciate it.
Can I take a minute or two to explain my answer? Okay.
Yeah.
I think again we have such a jaded way of engaging scripture. In this case, I think it's part of the problem is we're narcissistic. Like if you just Google end time prophecies, you'll literally find a list of 1,000 people going all the way back to the first century after when they first started circulating the book of Revelation of people claiming that they were in the last days.
Right.
And we have to remind ourselves that scripture wasn't written to us; it was written for us. And Revelation is a classic example of a book that was written to a particular audience, but everybody in history seems to think that audience just dismisses that immediate audience and reports that up to whatever their modern time is. The 666, the Jewish people had a practice of gematria, and it's a numbers and verses, it's numbers and letters,
right?
And so you got Greek versions and you got Hebrew of this 666, this verse. Well, some of them are 616, and some of them are 666.
Yeah, there's one manuscript that says 616. Yeah,
exactly. And Greeks had a system of gematria of their own, and both 616 and 666 spell out Nero. So while it's hard for us to accept that because all of us are looking for this like way far future, like chaos and crazy with giant grasshoppers that look like helicopters. To me, I think that what makes the most sense for my studies is that since both 616 and 666 seems to, in the ancient languages, point out a particular person, Nero, that I just feel like we should assume it was Nero.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
just
cool.
yeah.
Good methodology there. I don't know if anybody else agrees with it, but I like what you're doing. MJ, any
I
pushback on that?
no, I agree with my brother. The Bible wasn't written to us; it was written for us, and the best way is to deal with Scripture in its context. Can we make certain applications? Of course,
Mhm.
but I mean, it's only reasonable to here's the thing. Yes, there's apocalyptic imagery in the Bible. Talking about dragon stars falling from heaven, things like that. You can even relate some of the apocalyptic imagery to Daniel and Isaiah and things like that. But Nero was a historical person, and we understand that the apostle was writing for a certain reason. I mean, the church was getting persecuted and things like that. So we just got to be ready to do our homework and be responsible. And then there's the issue of reading ourselves into the text.
Mhm.
I heard some people coined the term narcigesis.
Yep. Yeah.
So we have to try not to be guilty of narcigesis, uh, because I mean, here's the thing. I mean, you got Christians overseas getting their heads chopped off, but nobody says anything about that. But yet, if we told to wear a mask, oh, the apocalypse is about to happen for us. Well, the apocalypse is happening technically the apocalypse is going on for them while they're losing their heads. But nobody says anything about that. America is not Jerusalem, it's not Israel or anything like that. So we just have to go ahead and try to cut straight. America is not the city on the hill. I know that the Puritans thought it was, but it's not.
Right. Right. And of course, we got another bodega lady that just showed up. We got Shawnee. Hi, Shawnee. How you doing?
Hey everybody, I made it. Can y'all hear me? Y'all can hear me
You
Yeah.
made
fine?
it. Yes. Yes. You look
I made
great.
it.
You're chilling.
So my little turban on. Woo!
Mm-mm.
Did a mighty work. You did it.
So Shawnee, we're getting real Bible nerdy right now. So what do you think is the mark of the beast that the book of Revelation speaks of?
Whew. So I've heard it's it in that time it was the number of Nero.
Okay.
Um, but I do know that I think I came in when MJ was talking. I'm so tired of the um, people that are trying to look at today and reading that into the biblical text and trying to prophesy. Oh, this means this in the Bible and this means that in the Bible. I'm really over it. Every time something goes bump in the night, for example, the dust coming from the Saharan dust or whatever, all of a sudden Jesus is about to crack the sky, and I'm just like, folks,
Meanwhile, that happens every year.
every year. So I'm just over us trying to read like MJ was saying. The Bible was written. The Book of Revelation was written at a specific time to certain people, and whenever we try to jump over the historical context of the text and just slap 2020 onto it, we're going to find ourselves into trouble, and we're going to be calling Jim Baker's show on the phone trying to get that food that lasts for the next 25,000 years. So that's where I stand on in terms of that. But as far all my teaching was that the mark of the beast in the text was the number of Nero.
Right. Because I think a proper methodology would be, every era and every region of every era has their own slang and idioms, right? We know that this revelation was written to 7 specific churches at a certain time. So what you would have to do is find out how these 7 churches communicated, because they understood the symbolism that's being conveyed to them in this revelation. So what we got to do is understand what they understood,
Right.
so that we can get the punchline. That's what we need to do. So, you know what I mean? But with that being said, off to the next, which is something we talked about earlier, me and MJ. Bar Lives Matter. Protesters descend on Texas Capitol to oppose closures. On Tuesday, Texas bar owners protested that Texas Capitol building in Austin, declaring Bar Lives Matter in response to Republican Governor Greg Abbott's June 26 order to close all drinking establishments. Abbott's order sought to stop his state's dramatic rise in COVID-19 cases, appropriating language from Black Lives Matter protests against anti-black police violence. Today's protest, speakers told bar owners to reopen their establishments in defiance of Abbott's order, according to KXAN. So, Mr. MJ, since you are from this amazing place called Texas, if you could give us some insight on that.
Well, numbers are going up. Hospitals are being overwhelmed. Am I fear mongering? No, I'm just stating empirical facts. And it seems like today, especially down here in Texas, if you start stating empirical facts, you're fear mongering, and you're not telling the people what they want to hear. The issue is people love ignorance. They don't want to have to deal with reality, and this virus is reality.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, you can't. I like how your governor said it, BK. You cannot play politics with COVID. If you play politics with COVID, Governor Abbott, you're gonna lose. And Governor Abbott opened up Texas. It seemed like he was opening up really quick, but he was supposed to see downward trends before he opened certain things back up. But he was just boom, 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 boom. And he's in the news last week. He says he's not going to go to the next phase. Well, I already thought we were at max capacity, because when I go into restaurants now, I'm here in Arkansas right now, right? But when I in Arkansas, they have certain tables at the subway that say, "Hey, you can't sit here. You can't sit here because it's at a certain capacity." But when I'm back home in Texas, restaurants are full at max capacity. The AC is running. Fans are blowing, and it's recycling all that air. People act like they can't lift up their hand to cover their mouth for nothing. So you combine all that stuff, and then they feel like it's their right to cough on you, and that if you give them that look when they cough, they're ready to fight.
Yep.
But I mean, it's insane down here, and if Governor Abbott don't get it together, he's gonna look really silly having to shut it back down.
Wow.
And
So how you guys feel about them appropriating the Black Lives Matter banner
that's a joke.
as bar lives? Do bar lives matter?
I wouldn't even say that crap.
Bar lives matter.
But I mean, just the idea that they would hitch their wagon to such a serious.
Yeah,
Because what they're doing is they're equivocating, right? They're saying the intrinsic value of black people is just as valuable as the intrinsic value of me having an ice cold brew.
yeah.
It is literally the same. They're equivocating.
Yeah, it's sad because I mean, it is a serious issue, because it shows that once again, this issue has not hit home with the opposition. And I hate to call it that, and I hate to use those terms, but the fact that they're so flippant with this terminology, it shows their worldview, or it shows that it has not hit the core of their worldview, and they still don't get it. And so there's still work to do, and it's little nuances like this that show us all the stuff that we just went through, people bowing down and getting on their knees and pandering to the African Americans and the minorities. All of that was just a show to shut people up. And for us to say, all right, we believe that you finally got it this time. But it's a clear sign that bar lives matter. Are you kidding me? On the backs of people who are seriously hurt, and it's more than feelings. It's the lives and the culture and the things that we have been fighting for hundreds of years. And again, it's apparent that they did not receive the message.
Super facts.
You just put that up there about those 300 children.
Yeah, I'll put it back
in
up.
Child care. Okay. So, I mean, we all heard what Rand Paul had to say to Dr. Fauci, and it was pretty arrogant. Okay. It was pretty arrogant. But his main points were children are not catching this. And I say the same thing to him that I say to anybody. No, we're not omniscient, but God gave us a brain, and he gave us tools like probability and things like that as useful guides. Even in apologetics, I use probability arguments. Nothing wrong with that. It's a God-given gift and a guide to life. But these people have such an issue with the government kind of stepping in and regulating or doing something that it's going to hurt the country if we don't get it together. If the government don't step up and do what it needs to do. I'm talking about not a dysfunctional government, because right now it's dysfunctional. Something's wrong. But if a functional government don't step up and do what it needs to do, I don't think our brother President Trump is going to have enough voters to get him back in office. I really don't.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, I was going to say something. What was I going to say? I forgot. Oh, man.
Personally, I feel like a part of me feels like this is all an attempt for this herd immunity that they want. So that eventually, if the more people, by the time the vaccine gets here, you have a lot of factions that are, I'm not getting the vaccine. A lot of people are like, don't do that, because we all turn on the TV and 10 years ago, somebody took a vaccine or took some medication, and we see the commercial that says, if you or your loved one took this vaccine or took this medication, you may be entitled to some money. So everybody has this, this skepticism and this fear in them about taking a vaccine that's rushed, that's not really tested. But a part of me is like, are you trying to do this thing called herd immunity, where if enough people have contracted the virus, then potentially that would leave less hosts for the virus to kind of attach itself onto and make people more sick in the latter part of the year. Now, I hear a lot of people say, well, they're testing more, so the numbers are going to go up. But the logic doesn't necessarily come into play there, because if I'm testing more, then I should be finding more and isolating more. Does it make sense? So at some point, we should be containing this virus in places, wherever the virus is, we should be containing it, and the numbers will begin to become less because the infection rate is now less. So just because you're testing more doesn't mean, what it's saying is that more people, that there is more community spread, that people are not necessarily isolating themselves when they find that they are contagious with the virus. And we see examples of that, of people go into places, for example, like Ty said earlier, people go into church knowing they have COVID-19. Though they're asymptomatic, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to be a carrier of the virus or someone that transmits the virus. So part of me is like, is the government really back way trying to implement herd immunity where hundreds of millions of us get this virus, and, kind of like utilitarianism, the greatest good for the greatest number. We may lose a few, but the majority at the end of the day will be better. A part of me sometimes feels that way, especially when I look at the White House and they say wear a mask, but nobody in the White House wears a mask. Am I wrong for having a part of me thinking that? It just doesn't add up to me.
No, that's an interesting point that you bring up. Absolutely. I mean, I don't know enough science to really know exactly how that herd immunity. And if that's the case, that means that we're going to have to sacrifice a large portion of a population just in order to have that. I don't know if it's, I can't, that's not worth the risk to me, in my opinion.
120 something thousand people have already died. And we've known about this virus for some time. I look at countries like Taiwan, they had their first case of the virus the same time we did. And I think the numbers, the last time I checked, was they were under 500. And there are 23 million people in Taiwan. They have way less resources than we have in America. And they are 100 miles away from Wuhan. So why is it that a country like Taiwan can do it? And here in America, arguably the greatest country in the world, and we can't. So it doesn't make, if all of us can be on one streaming service right now communicating to a ton of people everywhere all over the world, you mean to tell me that we don't have the resources to manage COVID-19 in 2020? This is ridiculous. It's just absolutely ridiculous. So it's hard for me to not see it's hard for me not to think maybe they want to practice this thing called herd immunity. And, as the more of us get it, the better. I don't know. That's where I am. A part of me is anyway.
It's a question for the panel.
I think.
Yeah, MJ.
Well, I was just gonna say, what you're seeing, Sister Shani, is a lack of discipline and a huge sense of entitlement, and it's wearing America out. Because it's just like you said in Taiwan, those people are on top of each other at that. So the density and the population being in one spot of all those people, you would think that virus would spread like a wildfire, but they're dealing with it in a more aggressive manner than we are.
But their country is open, MJ. Schools are open. People are going to work. They even have people coming in, but they did the work that it takes to contain the virus. And I'm just sitting here like, for me, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense when we have governors across this nation saying, you have some governors over here saying, guys, stay home, wear your mask, and other governors like in Florida, like,
Hey, that's why I love Governor Cuomo in New York, because Governor Cuomo was like, look, if you vote me out, you vote me out, but I'm gonna do the right thing. You got more politicians here in America that's worried about keeping their power than doing the right thing.
Amen.
And that's the issue.
That's it.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that you can have a good plan, but the good plan only works if everyone does the good plan, right? And so if you have people who, again, aren't washing their hands, aren't wearing masks, aren't complying with what the authorities say, the good plan is for naught. You can write it down, you can write the vision and make it plain, but if you do not do the plan, it won't work. Yeah. And that's what we're seeing.
If the president of the United States actually supported the plan himself, like his influence cannot be taken for granted. We have to recognize the influence that he has. And so when he jumps up and say, oh, it's going to go away tomorrow, I'm not wearing a mask because I don't like the looks of it. And when he's supporting these anti-plan actions, then you have a divided leadership, and you look in the population and you have a divided population.
To me, it's the biological version of Pascal's wager. And this is what I mean. If I wear the mask and we come to find out that this is some great hoax, some great worldwide psych op, the only thing I lost was being minor inconvenienced, right? But if I don't wear the mask and I'm wrong, then I'm infected. So I'm gonna wear the mask. It's always better to err on the side of caution, right? That's again critical thinking, using the mind of Christ that I received. It's telling me that it's probably better to wear the mask just in case.
There seems to be a theme tonight. Use your noodle.
Yes, use your noodle.
Love the Lord your God with all your mind.
Right. Greatest commandment.
Let me say first that I love Sister Shani's accent, man. I just want some oxtails.
Are you being sexist, brother? Are you saying because she's a woman that she?
I'm going to be the voice of dissent in this one to a certain degree. Like, I think this is something that's unprecedented that a modern society has had to deal with for multiple reasons. One of which that we don't necessarily think about is like all of your gaffes gets talked about every day on social media. Every misstep that you make, and it's like everybody's a Monday morning quarterback. All of us looks back and say, we should have done this, we should have done that. Right. And I think that this is something that's slightly more difficult to deal with. And in America, you're dealing with it with 400 million people. You're trying to figure out a solution with 400 million people, and 200 million of those people are giving you critical feedback and disagree with you breathing. So it's hard. You know, I try to comply. I think that our governor here in Michigan has done a fairly decent job. I'm not one of those that have been complaining. It's like, listen, I don't want to catch it. I want to stay in. You know, so yeah. So I think that I just try to have grace and patience and try to figure this thing out. And then maybe, Lord willing, the next time we face something like this, maybe we'll have learned some things from this time that'll make dealing with it the next time easier. But to me, when this thing first broke and all the Democrats went, hide your kids, hide your wife, and hide your husband. I mean, for real, I'm like, when have I ever seen a day when Nancy Pelosi wasn't on the TV taking her shots at Donald Trump? You know, like, but all the Democrats was gone. All you saw was Trump, Fauci, and every day the only people who was taking shots at him was the news. You know, ABC, NBC, CNN, all those news, those entities were taking shots at him every day. Apparently, this thing it must be under some type of control because even the candidate for them was hiding. Joe Biden, he was in hiding.
He was in his basement.
Right. We're literally like 4 months away from a presidential election, and you barely see him even to this day. He's out a little bit, but you barely see him. So I don't think that this is something that's easy to deal with. I think that I'm just trying to give him some patience and grace and let him figure it out, and hopefully we get back to some normal sometime soon. And in the meantime, let me get my oxtail.
And while oxtails, and while they're getting it together, wear a mask,
right?
Wash your hands, use hand sanitizer, social distance.
It's not hard. Even my 9-year-old when we're going into places now, just like the other day, she's a mini me, even though she's my daughter. She was walking in, we're walking in, and then she like stops mid, and she's like, "Dad, my mask." And then she turns around. I mean, if a 9-year-old can do it, an adult can do it. So
I don't know if you guys been experiencing this. It's like it's another form of microaggression because what happens, right? You know, I go outside, do a grocery run, you know, for food and whatnot. And there's people outside, they have the mask, but it's under their chin, right? Which is like it's like having your underwear on your ankles, right? It's like doesn't make any sense. And people are passing by, right? But when they see me come, they put the mask up.
I've had that a few times, yeah.
That happens a lot to me. I'm like, wow, this is a new microaggression now, thanks to the pandemic.
With me, they just touch their purse.
Right. Usually it's that. Now it's let me put my mask on because we heard that you black folk, you know, you guys get it more than I do. So, and I'm like, look at this. This is crazy.
That's a true story, though. I was in Myers earlier this week, and there was this lady. She looked like a Mennonite or something. She had a little bonnet on, her head cover, and like she was blocking her out. And so I'm being patient and waiting, and she's talking on the phone. And if she just grabs her purse all of a sudden,
you should have just took it. It fulfill the stereotypes. Like, you know what? You already think I'm going to do it, so let me. No, I'm playing.
So man. I'm so like, what do you call it? I'm so weird. Like in Walmart, you know, they paint the floors now, which way you should be going. Like I literally will be like, now you know you ain't supposed to come this way. Like I follow that exactly.
You see the arrow?
It's not so much because
don't you see the arrow?
Because of COVID, I'm just that type of person. Like I'm that Like if I see like sign, like I want to follow the arrows type of person, and that's just me. But I did find myself, especially in the beginning, like, now, lady, now you know you ain't supposed to come down the aisle this way. You're supposed to go around. But I did find myself being like that. But I agree with you, Chris. You know, and I do have to season even my thoughts with grace as I look at the leadership. It's just frustrating at the same time. It's kind of like, I'm from the Bahamas. So when I look at the Bahamas, and we're a dot on the map, there's really no, we're nothing. And we had 111 cases, and I saw the measures that we took to kind of contain this thing, and from the leadership go down. Even though people complain because there's a big shift in the way they did life, for the most part, people complied. But you saw it was an accepted way of life from the top go down. And I guess being in it here in America, I'm expecting to see that too. And when I don't see that, it's so frustrating. And it's like, man, it doesn't have to be. I know it's hard. I know it's difficult. You probably will do stuff that we don't like. I'm sure Governor Cuomo did stuff that people in New York are they're ready to vote him out now because of some of the stuff he did. But he took a stand and he decided to say, hey, this is what we're going to do. And it was a unified voice. So I get frustrated, and I have to learn to work through that and offer grace. But I appreciate that reminder. My governor's doing a good job, by the way, though the people in Louisiana don't really like him. So pray for them.
This is America, and the first right that these people fought for was the right to own slaves. And people in America is always fighting for their rights, and their rights rarely ever make sense.
Did you guys see that video in Florida where they were talking to the politicians? And like they found the most craziest people to get in the podium.
Oh yeah, the panties lady. I didn't wear panties.
Right.
Oh my God.
They always do that in the crowd. They're like, that one right there.
Were these supposed to be biblically literate Christians?
No, they just trying to embarrass us, man.
Speaking of that, they used the Bible. One lady was like, "You're trying to take away God's gift of breathing."
Yeah, she did. She said that they were trying to stop them from intaking oxygen and expelling carbon dioxide. That's what she said.
Matt Dillahunty was like eating that up. These are real Christians.
Yeah. Benjamin says news today was that Mexico won't let Americans in now because of this. They're gonna put a wall on us.
That's correct.
See, Trump did it, so he blew COVID out of proportion, so they would see he's a genius.
Now Mexico will pay for the wall. Ooh, that was the plan.
Evil genius.
That was the plan all along. Because I was wondering, how's Mexico going to pay for it? Now it's like to keep us out. Nah.
Hey, and he'll spend it that way too. He will spend it.
I believe that Europe also a lot. I think Europe or the UK. I think it's Europe has also banned persons from traveling.
That's
the
embarrassing.
Bahamas, we have not banned Americans from traveling into the country, but you do have a lot of stipulations to come there. Like you have to get a COVID-19 test. It has to be valid for within 7 days of your travel and all that. But the conundrum for us is that we depend on tourism. That's our number one income.
Right.
So if I shut my borders and say no Americans can come, then my country won't have any income. And so we're in a real conundrum. So when you pray, lift the Bahamas up that we don't have an influx of COVID-19, because I think in a country of about maybe over 400,000 people, I want to say the number of ventilators we have is less than 100. So
I will say that Canada has also put a ban on Americans coming into Canada as well.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing the love. Thank you.
Y'all remember when this virus first broke out in China? You can see those people coming off the planes getting like hosed down.
Yep.
With some type of substance. But I'm telling you, if they let Americans come in, they about to get some type of treatment.
Listen, we're not letting you come in New York. None of you can come over here. Crazy? If you come here, you got to self quarantine for 2 weeks, which means
I heard
don't
about
come.
I heard about some states like saying no to Texas and Florida. Like,
Nah, none of y'all could come over here. Nope.
New York
We ain't
says
playing.
you got to do a 2-week quarantine if you stroll up in there from Texas,
Yeah, you
Louisiana,
dudes
North
is
Carolina.
wildin'. We don't want you cooties coming over here, bro. Nah, man.
I'm an introvert anyway, so you know.
Yo, imagine the pandemic and we didn't have social media.
I'm off work, stuck at home. I can't go visit BK or MJ. You know?
Right. Now we gotta do a barbecues once this is all done somehow. We gotta meet some centralized location, and you know what I mean. So
I think it just points to the fact that we have to lift our leaders up. You know, we have to, as believers, we have to keep in prayer. We have to be diligent about our leaders and lifting them up and praying for the good of the land that we're in. Like we got to do that. We got to keep praying for them, because this being a leader on my job, I want to pull my hair out. I couldn't imagine being a leader in America, because this is crazy to try to do this. So let's just keep lifting them up and keep on the wall for our leaders, because 2020, it's only July, and I'm peeking out the door like, okay, July.
Yeah, what's coming now? Are the aliens gonna land now? Is that what's gonna happen?
You mean level 7?
Oh, so you know. Phil Fox got that intel. Let me find out.
I'm not crazy in 2020.
I mean, anything goes right now. I'm with anything. Anything they tell me. I mean, the government did the government did actually admit that they have seen actual authenticated UFOs. Remember that? Like a month ago, they actually authenticated these videos that were circulating, and the government said, "Yeah, those are UFOs." And everybody's like, "Oh, okay."
All right.
Like, nobody even flinched. That's how crazy the world is. It's like, all right, cool. We'll add that to the list of crazy for 2020. You know.
Ever since Popeyes tried to come up with that chicken sandwich, the world has just gone to hell in a handbasket. That's what they said.
I want to hear what Dylan Hunter got to say about that.
It's crazy, man. But listen, I want to freestyle a little bit. So anybody in the chat has a topic that they'd like to throw at us, please feel free.
While we waiting for topics, I don't remember what island it was, Shiny. It was the one with Atlantis on it. But like I was trying to drive on that island. It's like 2 lights and people drive crazy.
Okay, don't say this like that. But anyway, so it's not Nassau is the New Providence is the name of the island, but the city is Nassau. Everybody knows Nassau. And then Paradise Island, it's more like a key, but we call it Paradise Island. It's where Atlantis is. You go over there. You get to it from Nassau by a bridge. It is very small. It's only a couple of lights. We drive on the left. We have both right hand wheel and left hand wheel cars. And it's every time I go home, it's like I have to prepare myself to drive. And then when I come back, I have to detox. I'm like, okay, you don't have to be that aggressive.
Wow.
In America, like you don't have to be that
aggressive. I felt like we were gonna hit people, like for real, or they were gonna hit us.
Yeah, you have to be very aggressive and take charge, or you will never get out of a corner or anything like that. So.
You've never been in a dollar cab in Flatbush, Brooklyn, boy. Woo! Because all Caribbeans drivers, the dollar cab, and they
So a lot of honking of the horn, right?
Lots. Utica, Utica.
Yeah,
it's crazy. So we got a question from my newfound friend, so fresh and so clean.
Hey,
you know, I feel honored because I have now arrived as a YouTuber. Because now I have someone who constantly wants to get at me from the chat. Just like Vocab. You know, Vocab
like
has
Pine
Judah
Creek.
Right. You know, Vocab has Judah the Lion. I now have So Fresh and So Clean. I've arrived. So my new friend, So Fresh So Clean, wants to know, what do these talks accomplish? 6 people with the same worldview. I'll start. It's a little thing called fellowship. You know, when people get together who are like-minded, and we like to edify one another, we like to educate one another, and we like to entertain. We like to have a good time. It's Friday night, bro. We're chilling. You know, I mean, it's not my fault that you can't find a clique of atheists to go chill with. You know what I mean? You're over here with us, so I don't know what that's about. But you're welcome to stay. You're welcome to stay.
And religiously so.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, we even though we are like-minded, we all come from a variety of backgrounds, and so that's the purpose of this, is to gain all these different perspectives, to be able to for those of us, those who might be viewing, because I was a viewer for a long time. I enjoyed the bodegas. I learned a ton from both the bodega ladies and the men. So looking at that's the purpose of this, is for us to look at all of these different plethoras of views on the same topic, and you'll be surprised that there's all kinds of different angles on one topic. And
Right.
and so, if you can't appreciate that so fresh and so clean, then I don't because we're not here to just be in a soapbox, or we're not here just to be in an echo chamber. Yeah, because there are some of us, I'm sure theologically we don't all mesh exactly the same, but we put aside those differences to help educate one another and to help educate those who might be in the chat. So fresh and so clean. So that is the purpose of this whole entire thing. So
right. I mean, MJ's a black radical nationalist, but we keep him on the panel, and just to mix it up a little.
Hey, they accidentally called me the other night, right? I think it was Isaiah Robertson kind of accidentally called people. Like, hey, what you doing? I said, oh, I'm watching the Malcolm X movie. He just got through popping the dude over the ear with the bottle for talking about his mama. So yeah, guilty as charged with being a radical.
So yeah, guys. So any questions? Any questions?
Did y'all see the
Wait. So he says, yes, Mr. Faux Fox, but from the same worldview. So that's a bad thing?
Yeah, like,
I don't understand.
So what?
Yeah, I don't understand how 6 people, because this is what he's meaning, 6 Christians, how that precludes us from having productive dialogue and conversation about issues. We're not only talking about religious items, we've been talking about COVID, we've been talking about Texas, we've been talking about many things. So I'm not sure what the pushback is.
I have a question for So Fresh and So Clean. First of all, thanks for making me think about Cast. My question is, if 7 atheists got together and had a similar show, would that be a bad thing?
Keep that same energy. Keep that same energy. Well,
that's right.
That is a question for you, sir. So please respond. Would that be a bad thing?
But
we'll be looking forward.
Fresh So Clean, we're glad you're here.
Absolutely.
Actually, it wouldn't be a bad thing because they can't believe in bad or good. It'll just right. It's not in their worldview, so it could be a bad thing.
It's just a thing.
And once again, Matt Dillahunty got a show called The Atheist Experience in Austin, and all of his co-hosts are atheists, and they talk about atheist stuff. But when it comes to Christians, there seems to be this this different standard that people want to impose. So, I mean,
we're weird, I guess.
She said, "Get your friends together, and y'all have a bodega comedic atheist talk."
Michelle's gonna say, "I'm not comedic."
Right, I'm not comedic with the Ankh in his avatar. Oh my gosh!
Hey, but So Fresh and So Clean, man, please answer my question. Okay, great, thank you.
Yes, because it's the same line of thinking. Okay, you kept the same energy. Appreciate that.
And
that is, I think, one of the first times you've actually answered one of our questions. So you're coming around. You're coming around. I appreciate that. All right.
I got a follow-up question.
Let's go.
What makes variety more of a virtue? What makes having people with different worldviews a better show than having a show with people with the same world?
Now, he can answer that because that's based on preference and not on objective morality. So he can actually answer that question. Because to do otherwise, he would actually have to smuggle in our worldview to critique our worldview. Right? So, but this one, though, he could do this.
This is the first co-ed bodega talk. So I mean, you're groundbreaking here right now. Of course, we're getting different perspectives. You have XXs and XYs.
That's true.
You have multiple cultures. Even
you got Caribbean black, you got regular black,
you got regular
Native
black,
American,
you got Native American. We crossing boundary, borders and stuff over there in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
We can't go to Canada. We in Canada. I mean, diversity is the thing out here today.
Oh, we're missing somebody from the West Coast. We would cover pretty much all the bases.
Yep.
True.
So.
Mm-hmm. Oh, but so fresh and so clean. Honestly, I did throw up some prayers for you, brother or sister. I think we haven't cleared up that.
Yeah,
yet.
he or she hasn't said what they are.
But I mean, either way, I sincerely do hope that the message of the gospel does reach your heart, whether you object to it or not. I hope that you see something here that might turn on a light inside of you. And I mean that sincerely. I'm not blowing smoke or anything. So yeah.
Well, the herd mentality itself is choking the life out of the conversation. Guess what I'm going to say to you now? Then why are you here?
Question of the day.
Unless you're a glutton for punishment.
No, I think he likes the attention.
Woo, you shoot yourself all the time, man.
That's comical. That's comedy right there.
My favorite, I should have screenshot. My favorite one of his or hers was, all religions are fairy tales, and he has the Ankh as an avatar.
Yeah, that was
classic.
We need to make that into a clip.
That was hard.
But I got West Coast. I got West Coast right here. It works.
How does Jabari do it when he has an Ankh on his wrist?
Yeah, there you go. That's how you do it.
Looking like the last dragon.
You got the glow.
So I have a question for So Fresh and So Clean. Why do you join? Why do you pull up to the bodega? Like, what are you coming for? If
good question.
Like, I want to know, because this is I don't know how many times this has been, but it's been several times that you've shown up and you stayed the whole time. So
conflict.
Why?
You're trying to liven up the discussion. You are all preaching to the choir.
Except for
and
you.
Again, that's a bad thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't. That's like saying you have a nose. Okay, Captain Obvious. Yeah, we have noses. I mean,
wait, but here's so fresh and so clean. If that is a bad thing, or if we're preaching to the choir, have you read any complaints in the chat?
Besides you.
Yeah, I mean, besides your own. I mean, of all these people that might agree with us, how many amens or wow, #facts or oh my goodness, I didn't think of it that way. Whatever. How many negative comments have you seen besides your own?
Right.
So,
and we're not speaking to the choir. You know why? You're here.
Yeah. You're here. Thank you.
Using that noodle, baby. Noodle. #noodle.
Welcome to BK Apologists. #facts.
#facts.
But what could he possibly be disagreeing with us on, though? Does he think that we should go to church and fill up, nobody wear masks, nobody social distance? Like, what should our opinions be on these topips?
Yeah, I think we sounded pretty sensible, right? I don't.
He has a problem with what we identify as, if anything. But he hasn't raised the issue against anything that was said.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of
not
irrational, if you ask me.
Yeah, it's not with what we said. I don't think it's just who we are.
Right. Same worldview, less complaints. That's what you think.
So fresh and so clean. Do you think that being a Christian is a bad thing?
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, that's an easy one.
Well,
you give him a nice softball question.
Yeah. I'm gonna knock that out the park, brother.
You go Columbo.
Tyler said he's part of the troll ministry.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah,
hilarious.
he got furry hair,
Or she.
or she
Can
got
you tell us
furry
your
hair.
gender too? I mean,
Yeah,
where are you?
let us. It's been
I don't want to
weeks
keep
now.
misrepresenting you. You
Yeah.
know, we want to be respectful. I don't want to keep saying he and you're she.
All I know is that there's nobody as dope as you. You are so fresh and so clean.
Which, by the way, classic record.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll give you that. The
Yeah.
fact that you named yourself that's dope. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
That's hilarious. So I have a question while we're waiting on So Fresh and So Clean. Has anyone been to church? Has anyone on the panel actually been to a
Like
service?
physically, no.
in the church last month.
Online, yes, all the time.
I went to an outside service twice.
Yeah, all of ours have been outside. It's been for the last month. We've been meeting outside on the line with social distancing.
Okay.
Yes.
Nah, we straight up online all day. We have midweek service, Zoom. I lead a small Bible discussion group. We meet every other week on Zoom. I'm actually starting Bible with a couple individuals on Zoom. Church is on YouTube, and yeah, that's just what it is. Phone
I've
calls.
been checking out. I've been checking out some of Kenneth Copeland's services.
Nice.
Don't put for Uncle Kenny.
Uncle Kenny.
Just kidding. No, I've been going to church on the internet as well.
So
MJ.
Fresh said they did. So what, can you tell us again? We missed it. Yeah, you So Fresh, So Clean. What are you, or he, or she? Can you say that right now?
What's he saying yes to me about?
He's saying yes that that he or she has told us before, and I guess we missed it.
That he doesn't like. He thinks being a Christian is bad, or they think they.
Oh, he
think,
says yes. I think something about his gender. Oh, okay.
Oh, he said yes.
Yeah, but he can't.
Why?
He can't. But he can't. He or she can't say it's bad. Your
True.
worldview doesn't allow you to say that. You can say you don't like it.
it's Michelle is CMX's birthday, and he dropped in early on, but he popped out. And
Yeah, he's DJing his own birthday party right now.
Yeah,
so.
CMX done got me sore. He invited me to this 8,000 push-up thing, and so I'm like, I'm sore as a mug right now.
As a mug.
Yeah, as a mug, like my sister Titus 2 says all the time.
I'm gonna throw in
So
a
as a mug.
take care to thine own self be true. I commented, it was like,
Yo, Bill, you just dated yourself, bro. You said, "Are you part of X Clan?" You just dated yourself, bro. This
can't even
is
say-
protected by the red, the black, and the green with a key. Sissy. That's that old school hip hop. X Clan was dope, even though they were crazy with their theology. Brother Jay could spit. I'm sorry, that dude got bars. So, but anyway. So, anybody else besides our comedic atheist friend? And yes, you're a comedic atheist because you have an ankh. So,
Did have that question that was to the panel about vaccines?
yes. So, would any of you take the vaccine once it becomes available?
No.
Well,
Who said that?
you're in the
Dini?
medical field, so please, elaborate
expound.
on that.
Well, I say no because I am I don't even get the flu shot every year. I sign a waiver with my employer that I am responsible for myself, and I just don't like the idea of introducing foreign substances into my body, and I would rather let my body do what it was designed to do.
Okay. Anyone else?
I have a question for you.
Sign. There you go.
Are you the same way about vaccines for children, or is that just your view for you as an adult? Just out of curiosity.
That is my view for myself as an adult. To be honest, I don't have children, so I really haven't thought about it from that perspective. Maybe it would be changed, but so no, that my view is just for myself.
I have the same weird view, although I have children, and I feel like the classic ones, smallpox, polio, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I would do child vaccinations, but I've never gotten a flu shot in my life, and I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah.
I think I got the
Likewise.
flu shot one time, but that was when I was in the police academy. I think in 2009 Wasn't that when we had that crazy flu that came out?
Yeah.
Swine
Yeah,
flu.
yeah.
Swine flu.
Yeah, I think my instructor talked me into getting that, but I mean, just twice. But other than that, I agree with.
Well,
with
Canada, you
you.
guys have had your share of pandemics, mini pandemics too, right? You had swine flu, you had SARS, right? Yeah, you
Had
guys went through it.
yeah, and I was working through it all, and
Wow.
the Lord protecteth me if.
All right, King James.
Queen James.
Look like Miss Titus got a fan and so fresh and so clean.
Yeah. Why is Miss Titus so quiet?
Ah,
Can we hear from her?
This
You want to
is
hear from a Christian woman?
Earlier.
You want to hear from a Christian woman? I thought you was tired of us talking.
he's sweet
same
on you,
old-
Titus.
Oh,
Sweet
Flesh
on you,
in the
bro.
That. We
building.
still don't know his gender.
feel.
It could still be a she, right?
Yeah, it could.
So I don't
we gotta
know.
Watch out these days.
Gotta sign that prenup. Gotta sign that prenup.
Yeah, you tuned in late. I was talking earlier. Now I'm listening to the medical professionals. Okay, I'm trying to find out whether or not I should take this vaccine myself.
my concern with the vaccine, like I said before when I talked about it, is it's so rushed. Like vaccines take a long time to develop to establish its efficacy and its efficiency. Like, does it really work? And what harm or impact does it have on the body? And you're pushing this thing through. I don't know what type of shortcuts are being taken, all this other kinds of stuff. On top of the fact that introducing this chemical to your body, like Dinu says, what does that mean? I'm not signing up to take it. It's all rushed. It's all, yeah, I'm not gonna be sitting down on the couch with my children and my husband or something like that and flip past a commercial that says if you took the COVID-19 vaccine in 2021.
Yeah, I'm letting everybody else take it. See if they grow extra arms. And
There you go. There you go.
So,
See
yeah,
if they mutate.
nah, they pulling back birth control and all these other types of stuff that they've been working on for years. Could you imagine this vaccine that they trying to push together in a couple of months? Yeah.
Preach it, girl. Preach it.
Man,
I mean,
I wear a mask and social distance and praise the Lord.
I think the choice is I mean, for me, I definitely will take a more holistic approach to it. You know, but I feel like if you're not gonna do that and you just eat horribly and you're just not gonna really take care of yourself, then I guess the vaccine is your only alternative. But I'd rather eat well than having to take a synthesized chemical injection. Like I'd rather not.
And that's the thing I think is missing from the conversation even today as we're dealing with COVID-19 in a pre-vaccine space. Like nobody's telling you, okay, people, or it's not a very loud rhetoric of eat well to boost your immune system so that if you do get an infection, that your body is able to fight that. So, drinking water, exercising, getting enough rest, eating plants and eating your veggies and your fruits and, taking vitamins if you need to, but no, that's not being pushed. Wear the mask and social distance. Yes, that's great. But you gotta boost this immune system, and you do that by how you treat your body. So I that's a good point, BK.
Thank you. So Fresh got a really good question. No school without the shot. Now what? Good question.
Homeschool.
Quick answer. Next. It was still a good question though, so Fresh. It really was.
Hey, but I was gonna say, look, man, with them natural, I've been drinking Noonie juice and participating in pyramid schemes for 20 years.
He said Noonie juice.
Not the pyramid
How old
scheme.
are you?
I remember Noonie juices too. I do remember that.
I remember that too.
Remember that too, yeah.
Get you some ginger and some garlic, brother, and make you a little tea. Drink that.
As many of you know, I'm plant-based. So I'm not trying to get any inflammatory whatever. So it's like even if I do catch it, it can't grow too much in me because I don't do meat or dairy. So and I much rather do that and have to look at every the back of everything that I purchase to see if it has milk. I much rather do that than take a vaccine. So
yeah, just piggybacking off of what Shawnee said, it's so true. I mean, this is pre-COVID shenanigans that there's such a de-emphasis on the nutrition and the natural vitamins and nutrients that we find in our food. Albeit, I mean, food isn't as healthy today as it was years ago, but I'm just saying that the first response by physicians is always medication as opposed to like education and proper nutrition. Actually, not just education. You can be educated as much as you want. Instruction in nutrition and instruction in the importance of exercise. Not that these things will 100% keep you from avoiding getting sick, but it's just the point that the go-to is always medications, and medications will always help one thing, but always produce other things. Always.
Well, even with that, so fresh, you got to make sure that you don't overcook the olive oil too, because that could become toxic as well. And what's even better than olive oil is sunflower oil as well. So, but you're right. Anyway, so it is now 12:06 over here in New York City. So, what I want to do is find out what everybody's doing in their immediate future. We're gonna start with the Bahamas only. Shawnee, what's going on with you?
2420. That's our area code, by the way. It used to be
Nice.
we used to have one area code for the whole Caribbean, but now we got our own. It's 242.
Nice.
So for me, like I said on the ladies bodega night, I am putting some things in the works to start up a blog. Really focusing on a lot on discernment, but definitely some apologetics is going to be in there. But I have a real pet peeve for word of faith and prosperity gospel and doctrine that has just it's taken the church by storm. So that's something that I'm working on. Me and Miss Titus might be working on something in the near future.
Nice.
So looking forward to that. It's a little bit too early to say, but we'll be working on some stuff in the near future. But that's me. You can find me on any social media, Shawnee Miller. I'm trying to do a lot better with my posting. As much as I do, Instagram is still no. But yeah, that's me.
Cool. MJ Jackson, what's going down with you, sir?
Oh, excuse me. I told you that I was pretty much getting ready to take a new job, so I'm gonna be packing up and moving to the hills of Arkansas from Texas. but yeah, just packing up, trying not to hurt myself with all those books and stuff like that, going down 3 flights of stairs.
How many books do you have? How many boxes of books?
I barely cleared off 2 shelves, and I think it was like maybe 7 boxes already.
This guy, man.
So yeah, this works. So I'm gonna have to pay my nephew to help me. But no, I'm getting ready to most likely move. If everything still goes according to plan. So I would just ask everybody to keep me in your prayers. I don't have a family yet, but I'm a husband, so I have to make sure that I'm seeking the Lord in my decision making, because I am accountable to Him and also accountable and responsible for my wife. So
Amen.
I just want to have a little peace as I make these decisions that I have to make.
Amen. And the new, what's coming up with you?
I can still echo what I said a few weeks ago as well at the Bodega Ladies. I am on social media. Twitter, my handle name is DNew is here. And I'm also on other social media. You can look for me there on other social media platforms. As well, I'm working on getting my PhD in YouTube channel moderatorship. So that's going well. And
How many channels are you a mod in?
I think maybe at least 7.
Wow.
I haven't really counted it, but maybe 7 or so. And as well, I do have a YouTube channel, and as I said a few weeks ago, I have been toying with the idea of actually putting content there. I have a plan, and so we'll see how that goes.
Cool. Mr. Phil Fox, what's coming down to you, sir?
I don't have anything major planned yet. I have some stuff in work with Apologists in Detroit, some potential stuff with BK Apologist, and I still need to reach out to Miss Titus for some ideas. And I would love to work with MJ one day on if there's something we can collab on, because I need an extremist in my life. But yeah, other than that, I mean, we just do our every Sunday, 4:00 Eastern. We are live, just doing Bible study, social issues, whatever's going on in the media, if it applies. And yeah, so that's basically it. You can find me on all the platforms, Mr. Phil Fox on basically everything, or you can go to our website, www.dropsofhopeministries.com. That's my official ministry site, or ministry tag.
Cool. Miss Titus 2.
All right, y'all can find me on YouTube. I got a channel, Miss Titus 2. I'm on Instagram, same name, Miss Titus 2. Like Shawnee said, me and her are working on possibly going live in a couple of weeks. Might ask some of the other Bodega ladies if they want to go live with us. I'm also talking with one of the best, well, probably the best female urban apologist in the game right now, to collab with her. I ain't gonna drop no names, but those of y'all who've been around for a minute, y'all already know who I'm talking about. So we'll see how that goes. And then me and Michelle and some of the other Bodega ladies have actually been talking about a dating website for Christians, woke Christians.
Whoa.
Now, as of right now, this is just all a dream. So we're not on Word Up magazine yet.
Word Up magazine.
Don't know if this is actually going to happen, but it was an idea. So I don't know. Y'all pray for us. Keep us lifted up. Us girls, we got to do some stuff for the kingdom. So that's what's up with me.
And when you say kingdom, you mean
trying to help the woke single Christians.
Woke single Christians. All the Bodega ladies are single.
Wow. Okay.
And cute.
See, hey, you shouldn't have said that, because you be getting them weirdos.
Bill's like, say what now?
I'm not the only one. D New got some weirdos too, man.
Them cult members, hey, them cult members be after you.
Thomas, I'm not even gonna highlight what you said, Thomas. You
I have a classification system. It's really simple: eligible, ineligible. When I say that, like eligible and ineligible, in my head, when I see it, it's all in caps, like bold. So
I'm gonna let you know right now, if you do show up, you're gonna have to go through the gauntlet.
Right. See, this is how you pick a good one.
You see all these brothers right here?
You're gonna have to go and have some explaining to do with us.
Circle. Like, hey, guys, I need y'all to vet this dude.
Oh, absolutely. Please do that. No, facts.
Yeah, he's gonna sit right up in here in the bodega.
We're put in the panel. It won't be bodega that day. That day will be vetting in front of the whole world. And we're gonna grill you for 2 hours.
If we survive that, he probably the one.
No, that's the first step. That's the first step.
That's first interview of 5.
Well, when we get to it, we'll just wait for him to show up first.
Right.
We need to know what church he's a part of. Is he a member in good standing? We need to be able to talk to the leadership. Do they know who you are? All that.
I'm here for that.
Are there people that you will hold you accountable? Do you have accountable partners in your life? Like, do people know what's going on? Like, I need all that.
How long
Do you need one?
this job? And what's the longest you went without a job?
Good questions, Ty. I hope you
Man, I need to be writing these down.
Replay it. I can timestamp it for you.
Uh-huh.
And that is why you're the best mod in the business.
Yeah, right.
Don't tell Nate I said that.
Queen of all mods.
I heard on the Black Theology page yesterday that people were shooting shots, like girls.
Yeah. They're like, don't make this into Black Planet now.
Planet.com.
Yeah, man.
That's old.
Pretty
That's
much.
super old.
Michelle said define single. I guess single just means not married. If you're not married, you're technically single. But that doesn't mean that
Technically, right.
people ain't in situationships. I'm gonna just leave that one alone.
Situations. All right, Fab. Situations. All right, fabulous. Yeah, man. So, and Mr. Detroit, apologist, what's coming up with you?
One of my hobbies has been to lead book clubs. So current, so Sunday will be our second meeting for our second book, which is Surprised by Hope by N.T. Wright. So that's kind of a primary thing I got going on. I'm
Nice.
working with, like, me and Adam are like playing text tag, trying to get a date, and we're gonna be doing a show on his channel. We're doing that, and then I'm ready to feel like with you, man. I probably need to call you. I've been terrible, but yeah, I'm basically ready to roll whenever you're ready to roll. We can start dropping it like it's hot. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, basically, yeah. That's basically. And then I got my blogs. I've been working on my blogs.
True.
Blogs, so.
Cool. Michelle Turner is funny. She said, what she said? Can I put the gun on the table as a question? Absolutely. There's gonna be a few guns on that table. You kidding me? As for me, this Sunday, me and Nefertiti, we're gonna be taking a deep dive in Beyonce's new record, Black Parade. You know, which the name of the show is Syncretism on Parade, because she's dabbling with a lot of various African religions. And I mean, she's been doing it for some time, but in this song, she really goes officially in, and we're gonna address that. And then on, I think it's the 16th, I'm gonna have Dr. Vince Bantu, and we'll be discussing ancient Ethiopian Christianity, because last time we talked about was ancient Nubian. So now we're gonna go to Ethiopia with it, and really talk about his new book, which is an amazing read. Then later on this month, I will be having a discussion with Inspiring Philosophy, talking about ancient African monotheism. And I'm working on some next shows with Mr. Jay Middleton, who is a great scholar. One of his biggest books is The Liberating Image of the Imago Dei. So we'll be talking about the Imago Dei. And I'm also working on a show with Gary Habermas, and we're going to be talking about the ancient credo statements in the Bible, so we could see what the original Christians were teaching from the very beginning. So, yeah, I'm doing a lot of that. And I might be going back to school in August.
Okay.
I'm going to be taking Michael Heiser's course that he has. It's a 2-year course. And he has a partnership with a seminary. So if you finish the 2 years there, you get to be a part of the seminary. So while this pandemic's going on, I'm gonna see if I can get, somehow sneak out of here with a degree. When no one's looking, you know what I mean?
Hey, man,
BK, I just want to thank you for everything you're doing, because like I look forward to these bodega nights every Friday, and like all of your shows. That karate guy you had on there the other week, I was like, man, this is good. So I just want to say, keep up the good work. I love it.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, just,
I'll be like,
Yeah, thank you.
Pull the slide.
interested in the book club. It's open. It's co-ed. It's open right now. I got about 11 people in it.
Do you have a link? Do you have a link that you can put in the chat?
Every week, you can just inbox me every week on normally we do it on Saturday nights, but we're doing it Sunday this week. And yeah, we just basically do a chapter a week and discuss it, read, and then discuss a chapter a week. So
Cool. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, it is Shawnee, MJ Jackson, D New, Mr. Phil Fox, Miss Titus, Apologists in Detroit, and BK Apologists signing off. Catch you next Friday at the Bodega. Peace.